everybody. What a blockbuster weekend of sports we've had. Ayaz, have you been glued to the TV set all this week?
Nothing could pull me away from the television set all through. Maybe the last 4-5 days, including obviously the weekend. Terrific sporting action across disciplines, and I think for any sports buff, this was a treat to watch.
Yeah. So I know Barcelona's won the treble. I know Serena Williams won her 20th Grand Slam title. But the first thing I want to dive into is Stan Wawrinka's phenomenal win over Djokovic.
I mean, what can one say? Look, Wawrinka, 30 years old, he's not 21, 22. If you look back 7-8 years ago, nobody was even discussing him and whether he would reach the upper echelons of men's tennis, but he has.
Yeah.
And I think the most significant part of this victory is that till this tournament, I think people were saying the top four in tennis, the domination of the top four, which is Djokovic, Federer, Nadal and Murray. And now suddenly you've got a fifth dimension to men's tennis, which I think is great for the sport. And obviously, Wawrinka has just perhaps won a whole new world of fans.
Yeah, and the surprising thing is how he's managed to do it. Okay, he's done it really well. If you just look at it, he hit 43 winners against Federer in the quarterfinal, 60 winners against Tsonga, and 60 winners against Djokovic. His hitting has been phenomenal. That one-handed backhand has been on song.
So you're the stats person, Nikhila, but I think for me the real kind of caliber, the quality of Wawrinka's tennis is that the sheer consistency. If you look at from the time he won his earlier Grand Slam to now, that period since, he has been inching ahead, inching up, and finally he's broken through this barrier. He's ranked number 4 now? 4. So he's broken into the top 4. And it's the quality of play, obviously, as you say, and across surfaces. It's not that he's a specialist or a particular surface specialist. We've seen him grow in, both in terms laterally and in depth. I think that's terrific. And he's 30.
We've spoken about Wawrinka, but what about Djokovic? I think he must be crushed. Finally he thought that, okay, I have it within my grasp. I can complete the career Grand Slam. I can win the French Open. I have defeated Nadal. What more do I have to do?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense you're right, because you feel after you've beaten Nadal that you won this tournament. You can't lose from here. And then you get upset. But what I liked about Djokovic is, after the match, he paid huge compliment to Wawrinka. He called him a man of great character and mettle, and it showed on court. Ultimately, when you get peer group approval like that, there's no bigger... I mean, the trophies will come, or they may not come. But if you get peer group approval like that, it's like if you ask Tendulkar who's the greatest batsman, he'll say Lara, and if you ask Lara, he'll say Tendulkar. That's the approval that you look for, the recognition that you really look for.
Okay, and so you think he can finally get it? Do you think Djokovic will go on to win the French Open, or is it going to be the title that's going to elude him for the rest of his career?
Well, he's in the final. There were a lot of other specialists, other court specialists who couldn't even get to the semis of the French Open. That's a very tough surface to play on. So it's not easy. I mean, guys like Bjorn Borg and McEnroe would get eliminated very early because they were grass court specialists.
Sampras never did well.
Sampras never did well. Edberg. So, I mean, the fact that he was in the final tells you what a high quality player he is. In my opinion, he's definitely number 1. So you can't say that he will not perform well on a particular kind of surface. I think he's perhaps got the best all-round game as of now.
And he had lost just one match this season before this final.
Yes.
And that was to Federer.
I mean, you never should mind anybody losing to Federer.
And okay, so we've done with Djokovic, we've done with Wawrinka. What about Nadal? Do you think this is the end for him?
It's going to get tougher for him. That's my opinion. Nadal's game is based on a lot of physicality. He's a muscle and speed and
that's true.
Sinews player. It's a tough game for himself on his own body, and it seems to be like kind of showing up the strain of doing for maybe a decade and more what he has been doing. But having said that, look, one thing I have realized about champions is never write them off. You write them off at your own peril. They'll come back and give you a sock in the face and leave you dazed.
He's proven us all wrong so often.
Yes, and who would have thought Nadal at some stage earlier he would win Wimbledon, but he went on to win Wimbledon. So, you never write off a great player.
Yeah. So you think he can come back?
I think he can come back, but it's going to be all uphill. So Nadal is not 22, 23. He's also now pushing 30. So it's going to be tough for him. What also happens is when you've been around for so long, everybody else is trying to catch up with you. They analyze your game. There is a mental block. Hey, I can't beat Nadal, I can't beat Federer, I can't beat Djokovic. And then suddenly somebody beats you, and there's a whole host of other players, a horde of other players saying, this guy can be beaten. So it pumps them up, and therefore it becomes more difficult for a player like. It's happened with Federer.
Yeah.
Federer has been losing,
But Federer's managed to stay consistent, and he's kind of consolidated that second spot in the rankings. He's not done too well this season.
But he's not been winning titles frequently.
Not.
So, because the psychological fear of playing Federer is not what it was, obviously, because he's also now, approaching his mid-30s. The psychological fear of Nadal, I think, is also diminished.
And speaking of people who are doing well at this age, what about Serena Williams? She's 33.
What age? She's ageless.
And she's won her 20th Grand Slam title.
She's ageless.
20.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, she's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
So when you talk of Serena Williams, you have to talk of her in the same breath as a Martina Navratilova and a Steffi Graf. Perhaps as we go along, she might exceed all of them.
That's what everybody's counting on.
Yeah.
Can she reach 22 by the end of this year? She has Wimbledon in 3 weeks and then US Open in September.
I think it'll be very difficult for anybody to beat her at Wimbledon. I think that's going to be the real tough call in the women's section, because Serena, having now, I mean, not many people thought that she would last the French Open, leave aside winning it.
Yeah.
She's done it. I mean, she's got she's battled through injuries, through all kinds of setbacks, and she's come back. I think she's mentally so strong. Physically, she is, but she's always hungry. That's the most amazing part of this lady.
I think it was a mental resilience that won her the third set, because she looked out at 2-love in the third set and she looked in trouble. She looked in pain. We knew she was not well, but somehow she just turned it around.
So Nikhila, this is what my assessment is, having watched sport over all these years, that when you're talking of the top level players, there's very little to choose between them in terms of skill and ability.
Yeah.
Which is the mental strength on a particular on a given day. How do you cope with pain? You're trailing behind. How do you catch up and then get ahead? It's all to do with the mind. As they say that matches are sometimes decided before you even step onto the court or onto the field. Serena Williams has got a mind which is granite strong.
Yeah. So let me just put you on the spot. Give a number when she finishes her career. What do you think? How many Grand Slams is she going to have?
She's got 20 now, no?
She's got 20. Steffi Graf is at 22. Margaret Court before the Open era is at 24, the highest.
Yes.
Do you think she can surpass all of them?
I think she can.
Yeah.
She's 33, but I think she's still playing with the vigor
she's so fit.
Of somebody who was maybe 7-8 years younger. So I think she will. And I think once I mean, look, Federer is also waiting for one more Grand Slam win to kind of achieve a landmark.
Yeah.
And it gets tougher as you grow older. But I think in the women's section, she's still perhaps not just 1 mile, but a few miles ahead of everybody else.
So you're saying she can end at?
I believe so, and I hope so.
Yeah. And give me a number. Come on, let's put you on the spot.
Well, she might just lose motivation after getting past 24.
Oh, yeah.
So 25, 26, who knows?
Wow. That's quite the prediction from Ayaz. So, all right. And now moving on to the big event of the weekend, the UCL final. Football season had ended.
Yeah.
And it ends with Barcelona winning the treble again.
And who scores for them?
Suarez, Neymar,
and
Rakitic. Yeah.
So, I mean,
they've scored 122 goals between them, the three of them.
So it's like, I want to give you a cricketing analogy. I know you want to hit me on the head for that. But it's like, in the RCB team, you've got Virat Kohli, you've got Chris Gayle, and you've got AB de Villiers. Except that the Royal Challengers Bangalore don't win anything, but Barcelona Football Club goes on winning title after title after title. But, a fantastic exhibition again. When you see this quality of football, there is a bit of remorse and regret sitting in India that, hey, why can't we see it up front and up close in our own backyard, so to speak. On the other hand, you tell yourself how fortunate you are to be living in this day and age when you can actually see them play. I mean, 30 years back or 40 years back, you would have only read about them in the newspapers, not seen the magic that they can put up.
So, between them, they've scored 122 goals, and that's higher than anyone before. And they seem to click after January. It took them a while for all these big egos in the same team to work together.
That's always been the problem with teams, the big teams in playing in Europe, in the different championships. That you've got such. I mean, these are not stars; these are mega stars. These are mega stars. It takes a little while for them to start gelling. But the thing is, once they do, I mean, whatever happens in their dugout or their dressing room or whatever it is in their corner, once they've kind of resolved, once they find the momentum and the rhythm, then they can become unstoppable. And that's why Barcelona Football Club, they almost became a juggernaut suddenly.
Yeah.
You just suddenly realize in the last 3 months that hey, there's something has happened. The alchemy seems to have changed from the first half of the season.
And Luis Enrique has done a phenomenal job. I think he's not getting enough credit for being able to put all of them together and make what they were doing before, make it slightly better, fine tune it. You know, they were already world champions. They had won the treble in 2009, and to come back and do it again in 2015.
Yeah. So I think look, the job, when you prepare a blueprint or you're mentoring players or you're even trying to get things sorted out, is never easy in a sport like football. Where actually once you take the field, the pace is so fast that there's no time to think and rethink substantially. It's not like cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket is played at very slow. The rhythm is completely different. So I think a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, in advance, in preparation. Things can go wrong.
Yeah.
And if these things start going wrong, then the stars get very upset. I mean, think of a situation where there's Messi, there's Neymar, and there's Suarez, and in a match where the team hasn't done well because one or two or all three of these players have been waiting for some clearances and passes coming their way. They haven't come for whatever reason. They go pissed off from the field, and all kinds of hell breaks loose in the dressing room, and then they have to be mollified, come back again for the next match. To get that thing going is a tough call, and that's where these guys become so important.
And I think Rakitic's first goal, 4 minutes in, I think that completely personifies everything you're talking about. All the 10 outfield players, if you can look, had a touch of the ball in the build-up of the goal. Iniesta set it up perfectly, and Rakitic finished. And I think that just completely changed the pace of the game. When they scored so early,
And that was the hallmark of football, Spanish football.
Yeah.
And as we saw Spain before the debacle in the World Cup last year. But that was the hallmark, that there was, it was very intricate, and then everybody was involved, and then suddenly you'd find a great move happening and a goal.
Yeah. So I think great weekend for Barcelona.
Yes.
And Juventus, unfortunately, now they've lost 6 finals in a row. And I mean, as much as people weren't really expecting them, I think it was a great final to watch. Once they got the goal back, the second half, there was still hope that they could maybe pull this off.
I think it was a very good contest. The margin of victory might suggest that it was very easy for Barcelona, but it wasn't. The 3-1 margin is big. But the quality of the football that you saw was very high. It was a very competitive match. It's unfortunate that Juventus lost, and I think they'll have to do a lot of thinking as to why.
Yeah. Especially because they're losing Pirlo, they're losing big players this season.
Big players, and the fact that you're losing so many finals. I think that's going to hurt.
Yeah. Okay, so from football to cricket, we have to talk about cricket. BCCI has made some very interesting announcements recently.
Yes.
What do you make of them? Take us through them.
So it's a new dispensation which has come into the BCCI. I mean, there's a new board president, new secretary, and they're trying to do some, I think, moving very swiftly to do things where I hope it's not only window dressing. I hope there's more to it than just saying, hey, we've got all these greats coming in. So you've got Tendulkar, Ganguly and Lakshman as in an advisory panel. I'm not exactly clear as to what the advisory panel is supposed to go apart from giving advice. And the problem about advice is that people who need it most like it the least. So and an advisory board is always, whatever advice they give is not binding because it's an advisory board.
Yeah.
So in that sense, what their rule is going to be, it's still, to my mind, the communication is still muted.
Yeah.
The intent is fine, but how it's going to be put into practice is really the issue. But where Rahul Dravid is concerned, I think it's a very good sign. That I think he chose not to be part of the advisory panel.
You think that was...
He chose to be associated with the board, but he took up the job of an under-19 coach or an India A coach, which is unglamorous. It's not high-flying, high-faluting designation. It's like you have to go and soil your hands.
Yeah.
You have to do some work. I think, knowing a little bit about Rahul Dravid, I think he would find that more self-fulfilling, apart of course from helping BCCI and the younger players, because he is, even with Rajasthan Royals, been involved with the younger players there and mentoring them, and I think that's something that he enjoys. So I think that's a really, really good development where Indian cricket is concerned.
So I think good days ahead for Indian cricket, for the youth of Indian cricket with
Rahul
Dravid.
Yeah, I think, look, one shouldn't expect some magic wand being waved. I mean, whether it's Dravid or Sachin and Ganguly and Lakshman. And one point to make about Sachin, Ganguly and Lakshman as well as part of the advisory panel, I really hope that some tangible tasks are given
And it's just not namesake,
It's not just namesake.
It feels like that right now, doesn't it? Advisory board, like what are they going to do?
It would be premature to say it. I mean, it feels like that, yes, but I don't think we should rush to any opinion or judgment right now. But I only hope that they are not reduced to ciphers, because people of their experience, deep understanding of the game, so much to contribute, they should, be made proper use of. Look, whether it was Sachin or Saurav Ganguly or Lakshman, suppose the BCCI, somebody, the top brass had to call them and said, please help us out talking to our team, none of them would have said no. But you've put them onto a panel, you've put them on a pedestal, now what do you want from them is really the issue.
Yeah, so, and speaking of cricket, I know you have a very interesting anecdote to give us. Tell us what happened 40 years ago in this week.
Look, I mean, that's really interesting. That's going back in time.
I think we have the image also.
You have the image?
Yes.
That's Sunil Gavaskar, one of the greatest batsmen this game has ever seen. I think from India's point of view, if not the greatest, amongst the top 2 or 3. So, 1975 World Cup is known for West Indies winning it, the first ever title.
First Cricket World Cup.
But also for the fact that Gavaskar, most astonishingly and agonizingly, played first match that India played in that World Cup against England. He scored 36 runs of 60 overs.
Whoa. Yeah.
So he just kind of plodded on and on and on.
And what happened? I'm sure you've spoken to him about this.
Yeah, I did ask him, I mean, on his 60th birthday, I had interviewed him, this is 5-6 years back. And I asked him, I said, that must have been your worst moment. So he said it was a terrible moment. I mean, I didn't know why I couldn't even get out.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out. 60 overs, not 60 balls.
60 overs,
he batted right through the innings. But Gavaskar being Gavaskar, he said that was not my worst moment. His worst moment, he said, was when he was captain and he almost conceded a match against Australia because, he was sledged and abused and the decisions went all haywire in Australia, and he pulled his partner Chetan Chauhan out from the ground. But fortunately, they were stopped from stepping off the ground. Had they stepped off the ground, crossed the boundary, then India would have conceded the test match. And you know what happened, Nikhila? India went on to play that match and won it.
We won it. That is
India won the test match and squared the series.
And Gavaskar says that was my worst moment, but fortunately I was saved. The manager and so somebody intervened and pulled the other players back. So there you are. So, well, cricket's not the only sport where we are doing so well. We've had a relatively good week for the Indian athletes. Athletics championships that's been going on. We finished a decent 3rd. We've had 3 gold medals. We've had Kashyap, who almost made it to the final of Indonesia Open.
I'm a great fan of Kashyap.
He lost out by 2 points, but that's there. So, one athlete who we really thought deserves the title of Indian of the Week is Lalita Babbar.
Tell me why.
At 26, she's won the gold medal in the steeplechase 3000 meters.
Okay.
She comes from this small village in Maharashtra. She used to play Kho-Kho first. She switched to marathon running.
Yeah.
She, dabbled in, athletics here and there. And finally, in the Asian Games in South Korea, she won the bronze.
Wow.
In this event. And she thought, no, this is what I'm going to do.
And how old is she?
She's 26.
She's 26.
That's Lalita Babbar.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And now with her timing, which was phenomenal, 9 minutes 34 seconds, she's qualified for Rio.
So you put her ahead of Kashyap and Tintu Luka.
Tintu Luka is amazing. Again,
as the athlete of the week.
Maiden gold medal. But I think she's someone who definitely deserves recognition for what she's done.
I would agree with you. Tintu Luka needs to qualify for Rio. I think she still needs to get about 50 seconds or almost a minute clipped off her timing sheet.
So Ayaz, just looking ahead, let's just see what we have for this. India in football. It takes on Oman in the World Cup qualifiers on 11th June.
Yes.
That's our first World Cup qualifier in this stage.
Not easy. It's going to be very tough.
We're in a very tough group. If you look at the group that we have, it's a tough group. We are up against Oman, obviously, who are 97 ranked. Then there's Iran, who's world number 40 right now. Probably the best team that there is. We might against Guam and Turkmenistan, but the tough ones would be Iran and Oman.
That's true. 147 and 155, the ranking, when they're so deceptive, but a difference of, between Iran, which is ranked 40th and
probably the best Asian team right now. That
probably the best Asian
team. And so it's in Bangalore on 11th, and the best part is that the tickets are dirt cheap. They're starting at ₹30, and the highest ticket that you can buy is for 200. And I've been to the stadium in Bangalore, $100 tickets for the West Wing.
Yeah. Those
are stellar seats. So if you're in Bangalore this week, go out there, support the blue And who knows, maybe we'll just pull off an upset. We've defeated them before.
And I think apart from victory and defeat, I think Indian football needs support.
Yeah.
Because it's a fantastic sport. I think it's got a shot in the arm with the ISL also being played.
Yeah.
There's more heft being added to the I-League. And in my opinion, Nikhila, I think the two big sports in India are football and basketball. Basketball because it's very gender friendly, it's very cheap to play at a certain age. And football because it's got such massive universal appeal. So, Indian football push.
So hopefully, let's just hope that India can pull off that upset.
Yeah.
And then, they go all the other qualifiers over the next year. Let's hope for the best for Indian football.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a very good note to end our first episode of the Sportscast on.
And I'll say, let's give best of luck to Virat Kohli.
Yes.
We're playing
definitely.
Bangladesh. Might seem an easy team. It's not going to be a walkover. Bangladesh has got very rich young talent. And this is Virat's first. I mean, he became captain in Australia, but by default.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Dhoni quit midway. Now he's like, this is his reign.
Yes.
It begins now.
Yes.
And he needs to set the benchmarks for himself and for Indian cricket.
Okay, great. So, best of luck to the Indian cricket team and the Indian football. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe. Ayaz, what do you say to them? Subscribe?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
And go ahead, follow us on Twitter at boomlive_in. We tweet sports updates throughout the week. Like both of us here, mail your queries, mail your questions, and we'll take them up next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you.